Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 147 of the Falcoholic Live. I'm your host, Kevin Knight, joined by a full house of co-hosts this evening. First of all, we have with us Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way. Adnan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well, Kevin. I've digested the Julio news from a few days ago. If you haven't seen our Julio Jones reaction show, we did that on Monday. That's on YouTube. I recommend checking that out. But I'm glad to be making my triumphant return to the weekly show this week.
Yes, we're happy to have Adnan back. We respect your need to take a break from the show. And we're just happy to have you back in the fold.
It wasn't even like me taking a break from it. It was just like everything. It was just things were just happening on like Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Like I was on a flight a couple of weeks ago. So it was just like, all right, I couldn't do the show from the airplane. Although I did consider it, but the Wi-Fi was so shitty.
Oh, it's
I
terrible. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it wasn't going to work. So I appreciate, the effort you put in to try to call in from the airplane. And I'm sure everyone around you would have really enjoyed that as well. But
that would have been a legendary episode if we're being honest.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. So
yeah, and in truth, the Hawks were playing last week, so I gave that my full undivided attention.
Yeah, I guess I don't blame you for that one. So we'll let you off the hook this time. But going forward, you better shape up, young man. So
yeah, I mean, don't let Dave know. It's a good thing Dave doesn't watch the show.
Yeah, we're good. We're totally good. Yep. All right. We also have with us Evan Birchfield at the very easy to remember at Evan Birchfield on Twitter. Evan, how are you doing this evening?
I'm well, Kevin. Yeah, let's talk about more Julio stuff. It seems like we were just.
We're not going to linger on it for too long. We've been talking about it a lot. I'm sure everyone still has stuff. But yeah, we're gonna still talk about it a little bit. And speaking of great co-hosts, we have joining us now Eric Robinson. He is on Twitter at _Eric_Robinson. Just so on time, it's unbelievable. So right in time for his introduction. Eric, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty good, guys. How y'all doing?
We're good, man. We're good. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Julio Jones. We're going to probably talk more about some legacy stuff, our favorite Julio moments, that sort of thing. Because we've talked about, I think, the mechanics of the trade and the value and that sort of stuff quite a bit. So we'll talk about some more, remembrance type of stuff, and then we'll get right into mandatory minicamp. There have been a few storylines coming out of there that are interesting, and some reports, and obviously the Calvin Ridley news, which is not a huge deal, but it's worth talking about for sure. And then we will go from there. We'll take your questions, and not a ton going on, obviously, because it is pretty much the dead zone, but we got stuff to talk about. We're happy to be here to talk about it with you guys. Before we jump in, I do want to remind folks to like and subscribe, all those good YouTube things, and also to remind people that we are having our next patron Q&A session on Friday at 4 o'clock. We know for sure that the Falcoholic himself, Dave Choate, will be there to answer your questions about #DaveMe or other topics, as well as myself and some other folks. So if you're interested in taking part in that, obviously, patrons, you guys are already in there. If you're not already a patron, you can sign up on the Patreon website, patreon.com/Falcoholic and all you have to do is be signed up by Friday at 4 p.m. to get the link to the show. That's a lot of fun, and I think we're going to be trying to incorporate some extra special guests over the next few months here as well. So definitely check that out, folks. But let's do a final recap of the Julio Jones situation for those that maybe were on vacation and were living under a rock. Julio Jones was traded to the Titans for a 2022 second-round pick and a 2023 fourth-round pick, and the Falcons also sent a 2023 sixth-round pick as a part of the deal. So we kind of all are a little bit less than enthused with the trade compensation, but kind of view it as ultimately rather fair. You probably would have liked to get better than fair compensation for a player of Julio's caliber, but considering the salary cap needs of the team and the fact that Julio obviously didn't want to be here anymore, it was kind of an inevitability, and it had to happen, and all that stuff. But now that we've had a little bit more time to process it, how are you guys feeling about the team now with Julio officially in Tennessee, now seeing the roster as it is, knowing that we have this extra money? Eric, I'll give you the first chance to weigh in here. How do you feel? Has your opinion on the team drastically changed in terms of their competitiveness in 2021 based on the Julio Jones trade?
Yeah, for the most part. I thought that with Julio, with Ridley, with Pitts, the ceiling was definitely a top 5 offense. Like I thought this was going to be a unit that can be one of the best in the league. Just given that aspect, let alone if they improve in the run game this year, which we kind of sort of expect them to. Now that Julio is out of the picture, I still expect them to be a solid offense, but I don't think they're going to come anywhere near elite status, in my opinion, because that element of Julio is gone. And that's a very important and dangerous element that opposing defenses have to be mindful of every game. I do think the team is going to be fairly competitive. Are they going to make the playoffs? I'm really not certain about that now. I thought with Julio in tow, I thought they could have really nailed down a wild card spot. Now I think it's kind of up in the air a little bit.
Yeah, it's going to depend a lot on Arthur Smith. I think we're all excited about Arthur Smith, but he's going to have to do a lot more work now than he would have had to do having the pairing of Julio Jones and Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley. That kind of elite league-leading weapons makes it easier for anyone, even an elite offensive coordinator. I agree with Eric. I think I could have seen with Julio, this offense potentially contending for, a top 3 offense if everything went according to plan, if the offensive line was firing on all cylinders and, Arthur Smith was as advertised. Now, I think they're still likely to be a top 10 offense overall, but the difference between top 10 and top 3 is huge. Because if you go back to 2016, the Falcons were number 1, and the number 2 team scored, I think, 5 less points per game than the Falcons did. So it's that's an enormous, gap between number 1 and number 2. So I think in scoring they were very mediocre, 16th or 17th. In yards, I think they were top 10, but the scoring offense was a problem under Dirk Cutter, and it always was. 2012 was an exception to that, but it's because of the red zone efficiency, honestly. So maybe that's, maybe you could see the team not necessarily having the yardage that they had last year, but if the red zone efficiency got a lot better, they could score more points probably, because they were 28th in the red zone last year. So there's certainly opportunities to improve, but in terms of wide receiver production overall, probably not going to replicate what they had last year. You just can't replace a player of Julio Jones's caliber. So that's obviously a net loss there. But Adnan, I'll go to you next year. How has this trade and the loss of Julio Jones affected your outlook on the 2021 season?
Of course, it impacts this season. It impacts the team in the short term negatively, because how could it not? Yeah. Julio Jones is an elite wide receiver, and you're of course gonna do better and you're gonna win more games with Julio Jones than you will with a future second round pick. At the helm, a second round pick which you're not going to make until after next season happens. So yeah, it's kind of shaken my outlook a little bit. I'm with Eric in that I don't know if this team is going to make the playoffs. I think they'll at the very least be in contention for a wild card throughout the season, just because the schedule is a lot lighter this year, because you were a 4th place team. You're facing a 4th place schedule this year. And there's going to be some regression to the mean. Mm-hmm. I think we went, 0-7 in 1-possession games last year, which is,
it was really that almost the worst ever. I think 0-8 is the worst ever. So
yeah, so it's normally teams are closer to that 500 mark when it comes to those 1-possession games. It was just a really unlucky year, and just having Arthur Smith as an upgrade, a massive, massive upgrade over Dirk Cutter in regards to play calling. The Tennessee Titans red zone offense was number one each of the last 2
By a
years.
lot, yeah.
The Tennessee Titans offense as a whole was in the top three, I think, in scoring each of the past 2 years. And, at the risk of Titans fans trying to come at my neck for this, that's with a rather mediocre quarterback in Ryan Tannehill at the helm. So it's Arthur Smith has proven his mettle with the Titans. He's a very innovative offensive mind. He's very, very analytical. And that's a massive upgrade from Dirk Cutter, who was one of the least analytical offensive coordinators in the NFL. But, it's still, you're losing a lot of talent in Julio Jones. But at least being in contention, that's a lot more that you can say than what we've seen from the past 3 years. Because the past 3 years, November 1st comes, even last year, October 1st comes, and you're already like completely down and out. We were 1-7 a couple of years ago, 0-5 to start last year. I don't think we could be any worse than that. And that was with Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think they'll be one of those teams that's when it's week 16 or 17, they need a win and some help to get in the playoffs. I think they're going to be like one of those teams.
So basically, like we were in 2015. So it's like they were still alive when they beat the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
But they still needed some help. And if there was a seventh wild card spot, the Falcons would have been that seventh wild card spot in 2015. And the extra wild card spot, it definitely helps.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be. I don't think we're good enough to dethrone the Buccaneers this season.
I don't think so.
That's their division. But with everything else working for us, with those upgrades that I mentioned, the positive regression, Arthur Smith, the easier schedule, I think they'll be like in there somewhere, in that contention. I would be a lot more distraught if this was a team that had a Super Bowl window right now and they traded Julio Jones. Then it's like, then you can look back at the trade like, that was terrible. But, this team was a 4-win team last year with Julio, despite, it did have a lot of bad luck. But, even with Julio Jones, this team probably wasn't this team's ceiling was probably the divisional round.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And like, I think that, by the way, Adnan, show the people, what you got on tonight, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
So Twizzlers sent me a shirt and they sent me like a few boxes of Twizzlers.
Like a year's supply of Twizzlers
like
they sent this man.
Of Twizzlers. So, I mean, they watch the show. So, big thank you to Twizzlers. I have one like right here.
Yep.
And, I've been sharing with my friends as well, because the best way, to enjoy Twizzlers is to share them with your friends as well. But yeah, this is like one of the coolest things that's like happened. And, this has been such a cool thing to like have happen. It's something that I never thought would happen back when we were doing our Facebook Live shows in front of 20 people a few years ago. So it just shows how much the show has grown. And
we gotta get those sponsors now, though.
Right.
Hey,
this is not an official sponsorship, but they did send on like a year's supply of Twizzlers. So
Adnan is pretty much a advertisement for him right now.
Brand ambassador.
Hey, bro, low key, I have been eating these things for the past like 2 months.
Poor Adnan, he's eating Twizzlers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner just to try to get rid of these things.
Exactly.
Might as well just stamp the show, Twizzlers.
Exactly. But Twizzlers, Twizzlers are the perfect candy to enjoy while you're talking about Julio Jones' trade departure. So
there goes your script right there.
There you go.
By Twizzlers.
And I can come up with some bangers, Twizzlers. Just give me a chance.
Just let us know. I mean, we're very open to collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Dave is probably gonna like pocket all of the change from it.
Right. Because, Dave is gonna take some off the top. As is his right. But we'll get some of that trickle down, right? So yeah.
Trickle down economics.
Exactly. But yeah, no, that's very cool, Twizzlers. Thank you. I'm sure Adnan will have
Big
more
thanks,
Twizzlers than
big
he could
thanks.
ever possibly eat. So thanks, guys, for that. But yeah, let me read off George Costanza's donation real quick. George Costanza with the $5. George, again, thank you for your support, man. He says, "You heard it here first. I think Julio is going to have a down year in Tennessee. I think long term we're better off without his contract around our neck. I'd love to keep him here. If we can increase our D a little because of his departure, we may be better off long term." So, I mean, the financial part of the deal is huge for the Falcons. And, we talked about it early in the offseason that I think we thought it was going to be more like 2022 early on, that they were going to be considering moving on from players like Julio Jones and Matt Ryan and stuff like that. But sooner or later, they were going to have to decide between one of those guys because the cap charge of both of them, with both of them getting up there in age, there was going to be a time where they would have to decide one or the other. So, it was a little bit earlier than we thought, but that extra cap flexibility, they won't necessarily see too much of it in 2022, but in 2023, they'll, there's like 20 something million off the books from this deal. So
apparently I'm one of the few that feel Julio is still going to be Julio for the next 2 or 3 years.
I mean, I think if he's healthy, he's still going to be really good. So.
I don't see if there's a drop off, it's because of Ryan Tannehill, not because of Julio Jones.
Right.
I just don't see that. I think he's going to be one of those type of athletes, kind of sort of like Terrell Owens, who at 36, 37, 38 was still playing incredible. I mean, he was putting up 1,000-yard seasons in Cincinnati. He was playing alongside Chad Johnson. So, I mean, it's just, I think Julio is still going to be in that realm. And for some of the fans that feel the team is better by moving on from him, or the team is going to be fine by moving on from him, I'm not with that, man. This is Julio Jones we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could say the team's going to be better. You could say they're better off financially, but in terms of on the field performance, it's pretty hard.
They're going to miss him. Yeah, on the field, they're going to miss him.
There's no way you can't. And maybe Kyle Pitts turns into a dynamic weapon, but the chance of him being a Julio Jones type talent is very low, especially in year one. Julio Jones is maybe the best wide receiver of all time. So we shouldn't put that sort of expectation on Pitts. If he's just the best tight end of all time, he's still not necessarily going to be on Julio's level as a receiver. So
that's like the Lions, hypothetically, the Lions moving on from Calvin Johnson because he got traded to another team, and the Lions are just like, well, we'll be fine. We'll move on without him. I mean, no, he's he's that important to the team, to the offense. It's just Julio, they're going to miss Julio this year.
Yeah, they definitely will miss Julio this year, but you can't underrate just how important the financials is, because who would you hypothetically rather have over the next 3 or 4 years, Julio Jones or Calvin Ridley? Because they're going to have to pay Calvin Ridley pretty soon too, and you can't pay that much money for 2 wide receivers when your defense is in shambles the way it is.
Well, see, here's the caveat to that. When Calvin came into the league, Calvin was 24, so he's going to be looking for a new deal, and he's pretty much on the doorstep of that 30-year-old age, which is the death age for most positions in the NFL. Once you hit 30, teams expect a drop off at that point.
He'll be 27. He'll be 27 in December of this year, and that's when you're looking at the new contract.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll turn 28 during the 2022 season, but I mean that's why they're going to be looking to do this deal next year more than likely. So if they do a 4 or 5 year extension, that deal is going through his 32-33 season. And so they don't have, they can see. I think Calvin Ridley is the type of receiver that's going to age well because he's never been a guy that's relied on being this super dynamic athlete. The route runners, the guys that are really savvy and smart, they, like the Larry Fitzgeralds. Larry Fitz obviously has great size, but he was never this incredible burner downfield. He was always winning with his savvy, with his route running, and winning at the catch point. I think those guys, they can have longer careers. But
Anquan Bolden, another one, another guy that just, the older he got, the better he became as a route runner, and he was just able to extend his career in that way. So we'll see when it comes for Ridley. But again, I just wanted 1 year with Julio with this offense.
That would have been really fun.
whatever they did next offseason is whatever they did. I just want it 1 year. I just want to see defenses shit themselves for 17 games, looking at Ridley, Pitts, and Julio on the field. Like,
that would have been a lot of fun, and I think we
Hell
underrate the fun aspect of things sometimes.
Mhm.
We, as Falcons fans, we haven't had great opportunity. Yeah, go ahead, Evan. Yeah.
What sucks too is like thinking, okay, at best, if this team was a wild card team, it's like we're going to think instantly, like, could you imagine if they had Julio still on the
Right.
roster? They
It's
could
like,
have been
oh,
a divisional
yeah.
team or
Mhm.
making the conference.
Yeah.
Like, he's that type of player, you know, if he's healthy going into like a playoff game with you, like, he's an absolute asset to the team. And I think that is, for some reason, being easily forgotten. Probably more of the, you want to be able to cheer for the Falcons and not feel like we lost. And I get that. Fans do that. We did it with Kyle Shanahan, where we acted like it was no big deal losing him. But, you know, that's part of the NFL. You're going to lose good players and good people on your staff. And, you know, there's no reason to hate on Julio or think he's – I'm with Eric. I think he can be absolutely great for the Titans. I think what's really going to lead for his success in the future is more of a Ryan Tannehill problem or the whole, you know, we have Arthur Smith now problem that the Titans are going to face.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't think there's a Julio problem. As long as he's healthy, he's freaking Julio Jones. His stats last year weren't garbage. When he played, he was good. And I think that's the other thing that quickly gets swept under the rug by fans is like last year he could have played if we were like a playoff team.
Mhm.
And like I think he shut down. I think that's where it kind of started. Like, okay, I'm out of here next year or something. I think that had to play into it too because of the time he missed. Like he got shut down super early last year. He may not have. He was more week to week, but like I think mentally he probably was like checked out.
But just look at it from the other side of things too, and I completely agree with you guys. Julio is Julio. Like, you're not going to be able to replace him. You're not going to be able to replace that much production this year. But even if you had Julio this year and it's super fun, you still weren't going to win the Super Bowl. So you move on from him, and it sucks. But you know you can. This team was so financially crippled, and this goes back to Thomas Dimitroff. Like, this team's financials were terrible in that you had 5 or 6 players who owned the majority of the salary cap.
Yeah.
And then everyone else, you were basically like plugging up the holes. At the very least with this, and you know, of course, I'm sad that we did trade Julio Jones. I'm sad that it came to this point. But now they can at least rebuild the team somewhat financially, and this will give them flexibility moving forward to shore up some of those defensive positions that, you know, we really haven't had for the past decade plus.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm one of those that feel that hypothetically, if they were able to make the wild card this year with Julio on board, anything could happen. Mm-hmm. I mean, didn't Buffalo made the AFC title game last year and they were in a wild card. Mm-hmm. They had a wild card home game. They beat the Colts.
Yep.
I would also argue that Buffalo is a better team than us.
Well, yeah, they are.
Drastically so. But yes.
the principle of just being in the playoffs, like, you never know. You can get on a run, and with an offense like that offense, that type of offense definitely could have been clicking on all cylinders when the playoffs came around, and they would have been a tough out. At the very least, I felt like if they were a 10-7 team making a wild card, they'll be one of those wild card teams that you don't want to play in the opening round because they're just dangerous as hell.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't expect a Super Bowl run, but I felt like if they were able to do it, if they were able to get things going on offense with Julio, with Pitts, with Ridley, I felt like they are capable of making a run. But
yeah,
we'll see how it is now.
We'll
like I said, I don't think I want to say 10 wins is the ceiling, but I'll feel comfortable and just say 9.
Yeah. I mean,
9 and 8
I mean, I
sounds
think,
right.
Yeah, I mean, I think and I definitely want to talk about like record predictions and, you know, how we're feeling about the roster as a whole in just a second. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's pretty reasonable, honestly. Yeah. Let me read some more from George here. George wants to clarify that he doesn't think like Julio Jones is going to play poorly, just that with his with his age, he's worried about his injury, like possible injury history continuing. He's had some nagging injuries while he hasn't missed a lot of games. There's been a lot of times where he's, played at 70% or 80% or 90%. And like paying him the $23 million a year that we were, it was going to keep us from improving other areas of the roster. So he thinks that, net eventually over, the next 2 or 3 years, the benefit of that, having that contract off the books, may be enough to kind of offset the loss of what Julio could bring. So.
A lot of people are using what happened last year against Julio, but a lot of people are not pointing out the fact that the team mismanaged that injury. He played when he probably shouldn't have been playing. The New Orleans game, the first game in New Orleans, where he was pretty much gone for like 3 quarters. Mm-hmm. He shouldn't have been out there. And there were times when he got hurt, he was still playing against Dallas. And he had that hurt hamstring because that's when he dropped the touchdown. Yeah. And of course, he was also on the field for the kickoff.
Yeah.
So like he played. They kind of sort of pushed him out there, even though Julio was obviously not 100%. So I think he's getting a lot of punishment because of that. And no one's pointing out the fact that the team played him when they shouldn't have, because he got hurt in Dallas. And correct me if I'm wrong, he missed 3 games after that, and then he came back for the Minnesota game.
He came back for the Green Bay game, but then he left that game early.
Exactly. So, and that was what? That was the 3rd game?
Green Bay was the 4th game.
That was the 4th game, and then
he got hurt.
That's when Ridley.
He played against Detroit.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah, he did. He played against Detroit. It wasn't much. He was out there, but he played.
Yeah, he was hurt. He got hurt in week 2. He missed week 3.
Missed week 3, and he played a little bit in week 4 and 5.
Yeah, he missed the Bears game.
Mm-hmm.
And then he left the Packers game early.
Right.
I don't know if he played against the Panthers or not, but he was definitely back for the game against the Vikings.
Yeah, and he also played against them. I know he played against the Lions because, of course, that's when they wore the gradient uniforms, and I remember he was out there that day. Like he played against the Lions.
He missed the Panthers game.
He missed the first Panthers game, the home game. But basically, what we're saying is the team. He was out there for a good 3 games when he shouldn't have been out there. He shouldn't have been playing. And again, it made it worse, in my opinion. Of course, they were fighting for their lives. They were winless at that point, so they needed as much as they needed to get out there. But at the same time, it's like, man, I don't want to bash Julio for being quote unquote hurt most of the year last year when the team damn near just threw him out there when he wasn't supposed to be out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But
I'm not saying he like gave up on the team or anything.
Oh,
he's
no,
not that type of player.
No,
I was just saying, because I would make that conscious decision if I was leaving. Like if I had it made up in my mind that I wanted out, like I'm not going to go out there and re-injure or make damage my body even more. That's what I was just saying.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it is fair to say that he did miss a lot of those, and even though he didn't miss like games in the past, and that was an unfair narrative that Julio is constantly injury prone because he hasn't been missing that many games. He did miss a lot of those 3rd downs, and he did miss some of those moments in some of those crucial 3rd down moments in those games. And I know Jeff Schultz on the podcast a few days ago said that basically Julio Jones got to decide. He got free reign over himself, over self decisions about when to come out in and out of the game. He insinuated it basically under Dan Quinn, and that Dan Quinn basically had just let him do whatever he wanted with it. I think I saw a stat a few years ago that Julio's only played like 78% of 3rd downs, whereas the best wide receiver is, of course, like, you want your star players out there on 3rd. Always. That's money down.
Yeah, that's the money.
So that is a fair criticism for people to make as well.
Yeah, I think so. All right, we got $3 from George. Once again, thank you, George. He says, if we do make the postseason this year, and I believe we will, we'll definitely miss having Julio because the postseason is all about matchups. However, getting to the postseason and winning in the postseason, they aren't the same thing. Also, for Adnan, how about Trae Young? Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. 1-1 coming back home. I'll be at State Farm Arena on Friday. It's going to be rocking on Friday, and I'll be there on Monday as well. So, it's an exciting time to be a Hawks fan after 3 rebuilding years. And, hopefully we'll have the Falcons giving us that excitement as well in the coming years. See, I'm a professional. See how I segue this back?
Yes. Total professional here.
And real quick, going off of George's comment, when we all know, man, when Julio's in the playoffs, he takes it to another level. So
absolutely. Oh yeah,
they're definitely going to miss that aspect too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he'd never go out there and be like 0 catches in a playoff game, like like some wide receivers in the division who apparently are crowned as like the best wide receiver.
Exactly. He prides on embarrassing defenses in the playoffs.
Yes, absolutely. So we're gonna miss that for sure. All right, so we're gonna wrap up our Julio Jones discussion with our favorite Julio Jones moments. I'm gonna go first because I'm gonna steal the best one in my opinion, which is the Packers playoff game where he like literally just ran over 3 defenders en route to that touchdown. That was on my birthday, that NFC Championship game, and then seeing him like just literally destroy the entire secondary and just like push them off. That was just. That was amazing, and I'll always remember that as my favorite Julio Jones moment. Evan, I'll let you take the next. Oh, did you have something on that one?
No, I was going to say the thing about that play was the kill shot.
Yeah,
like that was the play where everyone knew, like, all right, this is it. We're going to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
Because even before that, even when it was 24-0 at the half, I still wasn't like.
I was still nervous. Yes.
If we were gonna win, like I was definitely nervous. I remember being more nervous when it was 17-0 than I was at the beginning of the game because then they showed that San Francisco highlight.
Remember when he took that hit in the middle of the field and landed on his head and he bounced right back up? Like just the juice was flowing in, man.
Yeah,
that's
Julio. Yeah, that was a great game.
And because after that like touchdown, especially like that was celebration time. After that, it was just like, all right, like now we're just blowing them out of the water.
Yeah,
like
Tevin Coleman scored and Julio scored, and it was like
not even the Falcons are blowing a 31-point lead.
Yeah. We'll talk about smaller leads than that, never safe. At 31 points so far. Unassailable. So
if we had a 31-point lead in the Super Bowl,
that would have been
we would
have
been enough.
Exactly. I mean, 29 points, like scoring 29 points. Any more than 28 really would have been enough. So
if we had a 26-point lead, it would have been enough.
Exactly. So, but Evan, your favorite Julio Jones moment from his time with the team?
Well, it was definitely what Kevin said. That's probably the favorite for a lot of people, just because of how he made like grown men look like children, how we just kind of ran through them and stuff. But so I'm a also steal because it's probably one of Eric or Adnan's, but the Luke Kuechly catch I think is one of the sorry. Actually, did I say Luke Kuechly? I meant the one where he ripped it from the Patriots player.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You can take that one.
I called dibs on going next, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna let Eric talk about that one. I'm gonna go with the Patriots one where he.
No. Keep the Kuechly one.
Okay. The Kuechly one is just absurd. I know it was against a linebacker, but Luke Kuechly was, through the 10. I guess that'd be 2010. He retired a couple years ago, but he was like one of the best linebackers in football at a time. He was probably the best.
Oh, he was the best. He was Seahawks fans will try to push that Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner wasn't. No. He wasn't on Kuechly's level.
No.
Right, and I mean, I can like visualize that in my head. Same with the Packers one. Like I've watched it so many times that I can just see it. And how Julio just kind of reached over him and grabbed it. And you don't see that often. No. And even if you end up with a solid receiver later on down the road, Ridley too, but I don't think we're going to see those kinds of things from Ridley because he's not that kind of receiver. It's just, and that's fine. You can be an insanely good receiver. It's just, you're not going to find a Julio Jones. You're just not going
No.
to. And those are moments that you kind of see what Julio Jones is all about. So I
Yeah.
always think of that one too.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great one. All right. Adnan did call next, so Adnan gets to go.
The 300-yard game against the Panthers.
God damn it.
100. Yeah, I knew Eric was gonna have it, so I needed to like step in front of him. I needed to undercut him and steal this one. Yeah, no, because that game, that was just like it's like the euphoria you feel from one play, and you stretch it out over like an entire game, where the Panthers just absolutely refused to like double team Julio. Because the week before I remember we had just beaten the Saints on Monday night in week 3. Julio had like 18, 19 yards in that game, 18 or 28 yards, because the Saints kept doubling him, and Kyle Shanahan took advantage of that, and everyone else was open. So I guess the Panthers were like scared of that happening. So Julio Jones just absolutely like eviscerates Panthers like secondary, and he has one of those plays. His touchdown to put him at 300 yards was like a carbon copy of that Packers catch and run for a touchdown where he stiff arms one of the defenders.
Yeah.
I think Bené Benwickery, he got cut after that game.
Yep.
So it was just like he was just like destroying. And the Panthers were the defending NFC champions.
Yeah.
So that was like a big statement game, because you were like, all right, the Panthers are like coming in now. They're like the heavy favorites in this game. Julio goes off on him. And the best part is I had traded for Julio Jones in fantasy earlier that week. So I was just like using him to destroy my opponent. And that gave me like immediate justification for that trade.
Oh, yeah. Big time. That's a good one. All right, Eric. Unfortunately, you drew the short straw. You have to be the most creative in coming up with your moment.
I think I can do that. My favorite moment is not just one particular moment or one particular game. It's the performances that he had against cornerbacks that mouthed off in public before the game. Remember when Patrick Peterson did that and he went out?
That's what I was going to say.
He put up over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Remember that season opener against the Eagles where Byron Maxwell got that big contract and Maxwell thought he was gonna. And then remember that time when he went up against Nnamdi in Philly, and Nnamdi was allegedly the best corner in the league, and he was going to shut Julio down. Yeah, those are my favorite Julio moments, because those are the times where it's like Julio doesn't bother anybody. But these cornerbacks wanted to be bold, and they wanted to poke the bear, and they end up getting embarrassed. You don't do that to Julio. It got to a point where we were saying, seriously, do not talk shit to Julio, because it's going to be bad for you on Sunday. Like, just leave him alone.
I still remember Byron Maxwell, that like picture of just him with his mouth wide open, just in shock. When Julio Jones because he had like over 100 yards in the first half of that game.
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns in the first half on Byron Maxwell. Like, it's just don't do that, man. Those are my favorite Julio moments. The times where he just embarrassed corners who wanted to be bold and said that they were going to shut him down or keep him bottled up, and he embarrassed them.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one. Good memories there. And it's going to be sad for a while, but sooner or later, Julio and the Falcons are going to make up. He's going to come back for his Ring of Honor. It's going to be fine. So, we just got to get through it. They reconciled with Mike Vick. I didn't think that was going to be possible.
He's going to get inducted into the Hall of Fame as a Falcon. We all know. So
exactly. It's not going to be like the Calvin Johnson situation with that was different.
Yeah,
that got ugly. That was just like a signing bonus thing, and this was just like, all right, this was a trade. Although I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of annoying reading the article about, all right, Julio was like mad that we're not winning, and the tipping point was they fired Dan Quinn, who was 0-5.
That was supposed to be like the fix for that problem.
I never got that.
Okay, I don't get it either. I mean, I think he really liked Dan Quinn. And I think we all liked Dan Quinn on a personal level, but it was time.
He wasn't winning.
No, that's the thing. It's that it doesn't matter a whole hill of beans if you're the nicest person in the NFL if you can't get this team to 9 wins at least. So it was time to move on. So it's just a weird place to kind of stake your claim, but it is what it is, Julio. So farewell, and we will see you again someday. back in Atlanta as a Ring of Honor inductee. So good stuff there. All right, but we did talk about team records. So I wanted to get we did like a record prediction when the schedule came out after the draft. So I guess I want to get the pulse of people now. I guess we'll say like over under 8 wins at this point. I think that's pretty fair. So what do you, Eric? Since I made you go last on the Julio moments, you can go first on this one. So over under 8 wins for the Falcons this year.
Over, but not much over. Like
right, but
I'll say over just for the sake of the question. I'll say over, but 9 wins is where I'm sticking with that.
Yeah.
I'm staying on that hill right there. So
right.
yeah, I'll say over with this.
Okay, that's fair.
Because there's a lot that has to go in place, and we talked about that a few days ago, on the afternoon Falcoholic live show that we put together. But there's a lot that has to happen for this team in order to be successful. Now that Julio's gone, like you're saying, Pitts really has to hit in year one. The offensive line really has to take a step forward this year. The running game really has to show improvement. Arthur Smith really has to be the great play caller that he is. Like that was just on offense, let alone what happens on the defensive side of the ball. So yeah, I'll say over, but I'm not going any higher than 9 wins.
I think 9 wins is pretty fair, honestly. But you got to think like 9 wins now is not exactly the same as 9 wins like last year because there's an extra game. So I think it's a little bit easier to achieve, because there's an extra game. But yeah, I mean, I still think 9 wins is about right. But yeah, I'll go to I'm trying to do reverse order. Adnan next here. So Adnan, over under 8 wins, and what do you think the team ends up with at this point?
I think we'll go 14-2 this season.
Jesus Christ.
No, not
14-3.
But,
14-3.
Oh yeah, 14-3. Yes, my mistake. 14-3. Yeah, no, I'm not predicting 14 wins, but it's not above me to talk myself into it eventually. No, it's at this point, I'll go over 8 wins. I don't know if this is the fan in me talking, but I think 9 wins.
It is a fan show, so
Yeah, this is very true. 9 wins seems like a very fair mark. Just because of the stuff that I've mentioned earlier, just because the schedule is so light. And, I have that much faith and that much belief in Arthur Smith, just seeing what he did in Tennessee. And, sure, he doesn't have Derrick Henry now, but Derrick Henry before Arthur Smith was just like another guy at running back. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I have faith that Dean Pease can turn this into a top 20 defense. I'm not going to say anything like crazy, like, oh, he'll have this defense elite. But, just the addition in coordinators is a significant upgrade for this team. So, I think around like 20th is fair, and it's a lot better than what we've seen the past few years with the so-called defensive specialist Dan Quinn leading the charge. But so I'll go with 9 and 8. However, as we get closer and closer to the season, I'm going to talk myself more into that double digit realm.
Every preseason game where Kyle Pitts looks like a god, we're adding a win. So
so it's like right now it's June. So by September, I'll easily have talked myself into 11 wins.
Yeah, 17-0 by the end of the preseason. So maybe Arthur Smith will actually win in the preseason. That would be interesting. We haven't had a coach to do that for a long time. Didn't Dan Quinn go like 0-4 like multiple years in a row in the preseason? I'm pretty sure that
they did. It went a couple of years where they didn't win a preseason game, which is so weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yep. It was very weird. Very weird. All right. Evan, over under 8 wins and your current record prediction right now.
I'm going to go under, but I'm going to say 7.
Okay.
I think that's
pretty close. Still pretty close.
If I was betting money, there's just too many different, unknowns currently. And when you trade away Julio, it just becomes even more unknown.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just go 7.
That's fair. Very fair. Yeah. And I I also was going to go with 9 wins. I think 9-8 is a very fair win total, but I think you could easily see anything within like 2 or 3 games of that as a fairly realistic outcome. So like, I would not be shocked at all if they end up like 11-6. I think is the new number. Like I think 11-6 is within the realm of possibility, and I think like 7-10 is within the realm of possibility.
I would suggest betting the house. I would suggest betting the house on 15-2.
Yes, great call there. Great call.
Yeah, if you want to be homeless.
Yeah.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bet the house, but I don't condone betting the house ever. But
bet everything on 16-1.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think those of you that are high on the Falcons are probably hoping for that, that defensive improvement and that Arthur Smith is as advertised. Because if Arthur Smith is as advertised and the offense continues to hum and can just be a top 10 scoring offense, they'll win a lot of games just because of that. It just the defense, and we'll see. They still have an opportunity to add some players here. We're going to talk about that in just a second. With this extra salary cap that they have. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But yeah, I mean, I also think it's going to be around 9 wins. But again, I don't think 11 wins. If you think they're going to win 11 games, I'll be like, yeah, that's reasonable. If you think they're going to win 15 games, I think that's not reasonable. But 11 wins, sure, I think that's a possible outcome. But yeah, I think anything between 7 and 11 wins is very likely. I think each one of those outcomes is probably equally likely. It's just you're just kind of splitting that up. But well, Keith, the fact that we're trying to be realists about the team's win record doesn't mean we're not fans. It just means we're not homers. We've been hurt by this team too many times, okay? We can't just blindly pick 12-4 every year or 12-5.
Well, I hope they go undefeated. It's just
that'd be great.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean we don't want them to go undefeated.
I've watched too many Falcons games to think they would go undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's no
last
reason
year when we were 1-6, I talked myself into us possibly making the playoffs, and that didn't work out for me at all.
Yeah, you went on that campaign, and it was just my
Adnan
God.
tried to will it into existence.
That
I respect
Denver
it.
win,
I respect it. Yeah.
That Denver win, he was feeling good.
Dude, Adnan was
we're
feeling
doing
himself
this.
after that one. Yeah.
After I found out that Taysom Hill would be starting for the Saints for 2
Oh,
games.
yeah. Adnan was feeling
It was
good.
on.
He was like, this team is making the playoffs, man. I'm telling you.
It's it's there's no way we're losing to Taysom Hill twice.
Yep.
He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since high school.
Yeah.
Comes out
yeah.
He
Oh,
hasn't?
my goodness.
Well, no, I mean,
Well,
now
he has now.
yeah. Since he
No,
played the
he
Falcons.
did.
Yeah.
I was about to say, man, I thought he played a few years at BYU.
He did. Well, yeah, I can't remember. But
Yeah, that's what
it was still embarrassing either way. Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. But even if they end up at 9 wins, I think they're going to be, I think, relevant until week 16, 17. Unlike every year the past 3 years, I think they're going to be relevant at the end of the season.
But
they may not be a wild card team in the end, but I think they will be in contention at least up until the very end of the season.
Like I said, they'll be one of those
As long
teams.
as they're not doing dumb stuff and losing dumb, if they just come out and you can tell they're trying but struggling, I will accept that. If they come out and lose because they accidentally
Because they couldn't fall on an onside kick.
right, just do dumb stuff.
So
That's
what if
when
they-
I have a problem.
But let me put the. What if they lose like that again this year? It's we can't look at Quinn and Dimitrov anymore and say, man, we got rid of the bad apples. This team is just has terrible mojo, man. What if they lose games like that again this year?
Right. That would suck. So please don't.
That would be
Please don't.
How will we even look at the franchise at that point? It's my God, what the hell is wrong with this?
I mean,
organization?
That says more about us. We're still going to be here talking about them because we have problems.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, can this franchise really fall much lower than it is right now? After 28-3,
Don't
can
say
it really
that
get any worse?
Yeah, right. Don't knock on wood. But I mean, even this offseason,
football gods?
even this offseason, the whole 28-3 thing was that was embarrassing. And then remember in 2018, the games that they lost at the last second, because of the defense could have hold a lead, and then the way that they lost last year, and like it's like, oh my god, like this offseason wasn't even that fair to him either, because they just got embarrassed because their star receiver went on undisputed and said he's out of there. Like that, I honestly,
star receiver who never talks.
I wasn't even right. I'm not even on
That was weird.
The payroll of the organization, but I felt so damn embarrassed when that happened. I was like, oh my god, this is just only the Falcons. This has never happened to the Browns.
I was thinking about our guy, Brett Jukes, at that point. The PR guy for the Falcons. Yeah. It's like, come on, man, this isn't fair to him.
Oh God!
All right, Dan, the man's calling his shot. He says if they go 14-3, you guys got to have me on the show. Okay, Dan.
Sure.
Yep, we'll do it.
No,
so.
we got to get George Costanza on.
If they go 14-3, I'm declaring it right now. They go 14-3. Dan, I will get your name tatted on me somewhere.
Bro, Eric, I'm not gonna lie, brother. It's a very bad idea
I will get your name tatted on me somewhere.
It's a very bad idea to make these wagers where you get nothing out of it.
Right. I mean, he gets, we get the publicity of it, so I guess I will appreciate
get your name tatted on my body, Dan.
Yeah.
Because remember Roddy White a few years ago with like the Mercer Duke bet where he like told that one fan that he's going to give him season tickets if Mercer beats Duke in like the first round. Right. And it's like, all right, Roddy, like, what are you doing here? Like, what are you getting out of this if Duke wins?
Yep. Exactly. So.
You
gotta, I appreciate the gusto, Eric.
No, they're probably gonna lose 2 games in the first couple of weeks of the season. I mean, they played the Bucks in Washington in the first 4 weeks, so they're probably gonna lose 2 games right there.
And is Washington that scary now that it's just an auto L?
That defense?
So. I mean, the defense is really good. Don't get me wrong, but Dean P is gonna have to work some magic. He's gonna have to do that a lot. So, but at least Dean Pease is willing to like send extra. Like if they don't have like a 4-man defensive line that's good, like at least Dean Pease is going to like occasionally blitz. Like Dan Quinn was like, no, absolutely not. We rush 4 and we drop 8 every time.
And on third down, we're rushing 3.
Yeah, then we're rushing 3. Our pass rush sucks. You know what? Then we're only going to send 3 guys. You know what? Checkmate, people. So
I feel like Eric's going to be super nervous when this team is like 4-0 or something.
Yeah, they're going to start 5-0.
Like, all right,
Eric's going to be sweating on every show. Yeah. But,
it's going to be a bittersweet. Like it's going to be bittersweet every time the Falcons like get a win because it's going to be like, oh, one more win closer to that tattoo.
Oh, shit.
And then they end up going 15-2, and it's like, oh.
Yeah,
it's
too
much.
I
dodged a bullet there to go 15-2.
Right, exactly. It has to be 14-3. Yeah, it has to be 14-3. That's the text.
Now you're just trying to get off on a technicality.
That's a technicality, but you would be technically correct, Eric, which is the best kind of correct. So yeah.
Exactly.
But we had one more from George Costanza, another $3. He says he's predicting 11 wins. He was asking where your gallon of water is, but there it is. We've just seen it. The gallon of water has made its appearance. He also
need to get Eric sponsored by water,
like Dasani or Aquafina.
By
or
water, just straight water.
Just water. Brought to you by water.
Please drink it. Although you probably already are.
Yes, please drink water. Yeah, I don't know if water just has like a spokesperson, but
dude,
we could be that.
That's all I have in my house. Like I have a little juice here and there, but even my son drinks a ton of water.
But what's your favorite brand?
Honestly, I don't have a favorite. I would.
Oh, okay, never mind.
If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Aquafina. But
you got to be more decisive, Eric. You got to put on for Aquafina to give Evan something to work with.
But see, Aquafina doesn't make gallon water.
Like
it's just like I stock up on these.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, if Aquafina wants to throw a sponsorship out, yeah, sure. I wear a damn t-shirt and be drinking water every day. You goddamn right, I would. Absolutely.
Yes, so let's move on to some minicamp talk. We did get a lot from the Falcons' new writer, Scott Bair. He's been giving us some updates for minicamp, which are appreciated. Some other stuff on Twitter. The first one we want to talk about is going to be Calvin Ridley. He's not there. He had a minor foot procedure. It's not a big deal. He'll be ready for training camp, but it's worth mentioning. Arthur Smith was like deftly dodging questions about it, which I thought was really funny. So do you guys have any concerns at all about Calvin Ridley at this point, or is it just?
I thought he had already had that out of the way, but apparently not.
Apparently not.
It's not. I mean, it's the same injury from during the season when he had
you wish that he would have done this in the spring earlier on, because it wouldn't have interfered with anything. He'll be back by training camp, but it's like, it brings into question, like, all right, like why wasn't this done after the season was done?
The timing of it is awkward.
Yeah.
It's not ideal, but it's a minor surgery. It's a minor cleanup. People in the comments of the article are saying, "Oh, Calvin Ridley's really stepping into Julio's role at this point. Already with a foot injury." But he'll be back by training camp, so it's not really that big of a deal. And George, I just had a nice lemonade tonight. No international like flavors tonight. Just a freshly squeezed mint lemonade.
Yep.
Yeah, I do wish it would have been a little earlier in the offseason that he did this. Like I said, the timing of it is awkward because it comes right after the team moves on from Julio Jones and the team is getting ready to elevate you. So it's like I'm not saying he needs those reps in minicamp, but it's just like, oh, they traded Julio Jones, so they're going to be looking at Calvin Ridley to be the lead guy now. Oh, well, guess what? Calvin Ridley just had surgery.
Bro, this team is getting hit in the dick when it comes to PR. This
right, like it's like, oh my god, like seriously, the timing is just so off. But yeah, he'll be back as long as he's back by training camp. I'll be fine.
Yeah, I agree.
If he's not, I'll start to get a little worried.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think it's something to be too concerned about at this point, but Arthur Smith was like, well, I don't have to talk about it, I don't have to report anything now, and then it was like 30 minutes later, Rap Sheet had the info on it, but it was just like no one. I just it was very deft, good job, Arthur Smith. He's learning to get around the media already. He's just growing into a true head coach right before our eyes. So
that man.
As long as he doesn't say that we're pissed off after a loss, it'll be fine.
I have a feeling he won't need to say it. I feel like we'll just know that he's pissed off.
That man has a laser focus doing press conferences. Like he's just there's no question that's going to get to him. Not one. I like it already. As a rookie head coach, I like it already.
Yeah.
Everything that I've seen so far is Arthur Smith seems like this super, super analytical guy. Mm-hmm. And, we saw it with the joint press conference with him and Fontenot. Like Fontenot's more of the personal guy who's he's going to talk to you, he's going to develop that relationship. Whereas Arthur Smith, not that he won't develop relationships, but he's just all business. He's all accountability. And, I feel like that's something that this team has severely lacked over the past since 2014, since 2015 when Dan Quinn got here. Mm-hmm. It never seemed like Dan Quinn had the firmest hand when it came to holding players accountable.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. He held a lot of hands. He babied some players.
Yeah.
And in fairness to Mike Smith, he was a pretty good disciplinarian. I remember that 2010 season where I think the Falcons set a record for having the fewest penalties in a season ever. And, there were the reports about how he'd always he'd always bring up every single penalty in film study and kind of put the player on the spot, whoever committed the penalty.
Yeah. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. It's fine.
No, I was just saying, man, that's the focus that I see from Arthur Smith right now. And, it's a good sign going forward. If they didn't part ways with Julio and you would have, Julio would have still been on the team around training camp, he definitely would have been answering those type of questions in training camp. You can tell he only wants to talk X's and O's. Like, he doesn't want to talk anything outside of that. Like, if this guy has anything to do with injuries or players getting traded or players not showing up to camp, he doesn't want to talk about any of that. He rather talks about X's and O's, analytical stuff. And again, it's a focus that I like. He doesn't seem nervous. He doesn't seem off track. I definitely don't get the same vibes that I got from that new Eagles coach, Sirianni, his first press conference, and how god awful that was. Yeah, I don't get that from Arthur Smith.
Yep, me neither. So, all right, next thing, Frank Darby impressing in training camp. He had a great catch yesterday. I'm sure if you guys were on Twitter, you probably saw it. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on Frank Darby? Obviously, it's really early, but seems to be someone that has made a name for himself. I believe it was Javian Hawkins said he was like the funniest guy on the team that he's met so far. So what are you guys' thoughts on Frank Darby and his impressive start?
Fans gonna love him.
Yeah,
fans are gonna love him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he has a pretty solid year as a rookie. I don't think he's gonna get a ton of targets, but he's definitely gonna be an important piece in year one.
Yeah.
Given the competition, do you think he could realistically be like a starter?
I mean,
if not wide receiver,
it would have to
too,
be on the
like
outside,
Gage.
right? Yeah, it would have to be on the outside because I think Gage has kind of got the slot.
Because last year when Julio missed time, I think it was Christian Blake who kind of stepped up or was like put in that Julio role.
I think he can definitely elbow his way into more playing time early on, and not just because there's no Julio, but because I think he brings a certain element to the team that Gage doesn't have. Gage is not a deep threat. Gage cannot, to me, consistently beat DBs on the outside. Darby can.
Yeah,
so
Gage is more of a slot guy. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily put it past him that he could learn to play some more on the outside, but it's not been his style so far.
Right.
And the thing is, it's like there is a next man up type mentality where there's opportunity in every situation where, of course we lose Julio Jones, but this does give an opportunity to some of the younger wide receivers on the team to, get more playing time. And Darby will be one of the favorites for that wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 position. Mm-hmm. If he can really show out in camp, like he'll have an opportunity that not many 6th round wide receivers have coming into the NFL. So, both he and I think it'll be a pretty good battle between he and Zacchaeus for that wide receiver 3 role. And, every single year we talk about the fiercest training camp battles. Every year has something to do with wide receivers. And I think this year more than ever, it'll be really exciting to watch and to see how all of that plays out because, the depth chart, you have Ridley, you have Gage as your top 2 wide receivers. I think Pitts will he'll get plenty of run and lined up in a wide receiver position. But, opportunities knocking for some of these young guys. And it's nice to see these young guys battle for and get their opportunities on an NFL roster.
Yeah. I definitely I think Zacchaeus maybe. I mean, honestly, it's going to depend on what plays they want to run because Zacchaeus is more of the deep threat. Darby is more of the short to intermediate guy because he doesn't necessarily have that deep speed. But, I mean,
I think he can stretch the field.
I mean, he can. I just don't know that he has great speed. That's all I'm saying.
I don't think he. Well, his thing is not necessarily predicated around speed.
I mean, he runs a 4.6, so it's like I don't know that he's a super. I mean, he can catch the ball downfield, but he's not going to burn corners downfield. I guess is what I'm saying.
No, but I guess that's the thing that stood out about him. I mean, he was still averaging 19, 20 yards a catch. And
Yeah.
he is one of those guys. Yeah, he's not going to run past you. He's not going to burn you. But with 50-50 balls down the field, he's going to go get his.
Yes, it's the physicality, like how he goes up and gets it. He's willing to fight you for the ball.
He's willing to fight for it, yeah.
You know, so that type of thing can translate downfield. It's just not necessarily like, oh, he's not going to be flying downfield and leaving somebody in the dust. But his route running is really good. He could definitely beat guys on double moves and that sort of thing. So, but Arthur Smith has tended to do more intermediate routes anyway. So it's not like they're necessarily going to ask him to run a ton of deep routes. Like, if they want people to run deep, they have Ridley, they have Pitts, they have, you know, even Hayden Hurst to an extent has good speed for a tight end, and so does Zacchaeus. Like, they've got guys that can fly downfield if they need guys to run deep. They don't necessarily need Darby to do that all the time. So, you know, and as a 6th-round pick, like you guys were saying, like, he has a great opportunity, far more than the usual 6th-round pick. And like we talked about it in the pre-draft process, that the Falcons needed to just draft a wide receiver from this class, probably in that late 5th, 6th round range, because the class was so deep, they were still going to get like a starting caliber receiver late in the draft. And they did that with Frank Darby. You know, we had a lot of guys that we talked about, like Simi Fehoko and Jacob Harris from UCF and all these guys. Like, there was a lot of talent late. So you're getting guys that are, I think, very, very capable, and you shouldn't necessarily get too hung up on when they were drafted. And the same thing with Zacchaeus. You know, Zacchaeus undrafted. He had like 1,000-yard season his senior year and still went undrafted. It's just like, these days the wide receiver classes are so stacked that if you're savvy, you can find guys late. You can find guys in the undrafted pool. Another guy that has gained a lot of hype, not necessarily from practices, but in terms of having a following, was Austin Trammell, who a lot of people were saying, you know, has that kind of Edelman, Amendola, you know, Nick Williams maybe sort of scrappy play style. And, you know, there's usually room for someone like that on your roster, or at least your practice squad. So I would keep an eye on his name as well throughout this process. But another thing to touch on is Cordarrelle Patterson apparently playing mostly at running back thus far. Obviously, it's kind of early to judge much on that, but it does seem like he's going to have a role at running back. What do you guys think about that? And how many carries do you actually expect him to get in that role on a weekly basis?
I mean, he played running back last year in Chicago after Tariq Cohen went down. He was basically their backup running back behind David Montgomery. You know, I don't think he'll be, you know, I don't think he'll get that many carries. I don't think that Mike Davis will really be a full-on bell cow, but I can definitely foresee a big committee approach this season. Patterson may get some third down run just with his skills as a wide receiver. You know, he's a natural wide receiver normally. But you know, I'm really excited about who's that undrafted running back? He was on the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
Javian Hawkins. I think Javian Hawkins. He's a lot of people's favorite to make the roster as an undrafted free agent, and you know, I think he'll get some nice split with Cordarrelle when it comes to that backup running back role, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree. Javian Hawkins is a guy that I think could go from, you know, I think Thor on the show said like straight up that he thought Javian Hawkins would be this year's James Robinson. Like, he could be starting by midseason. And I think that may be a little aggressive. You know, I do appreciate Thor's enthusiasm for our undrafted class.
I appreciate his enthusiasm for hot takes, because he knows what show he was coming on.
Oh, yeah. No, he fit right in with the hot takes here. That's for sure. So I'm excited about Hawkins. You know, we'll have to see how he looks in camp. But in terms of talent, like, I agree with him. Like, Hawkins is one of the most talented players on this roster. It was surprising to me that he didn't get drafted. And he fills a role that they don't really have. Like, they have the kind of, you know, bowling ball guys in Mike Davis and Quadri Olson. They have a big, fast guy in Cordarrelle Patterson, but they don't really have that slippery, you know, guy like a Javian Hawkins. So excited to see how that plays out. One last thing to touch on from minicamp is that the secondary had a great day today on day 2. Undrafted safety Dwayne Johnson had 2 picks today, and linebacker Michael Walker also had a great pick in those sessions as well. He actually intercepted Matt Ryan and ran it back for a pick 6. So
this just tells me that Matt Ryan is washed.
well, whenever Matt Ryan throws bad picks in training camp, it means he's about to be the league MVP. So
just wait for his offensive coordinator to go out there and pick him off.
Exactly. I need to see Arthur
story
Smith
that
out there.
was.
Yeah, playing coverage. Then we'll know the MVP season is coming for sure. But yeah, I mean, you guys have any thoughts on? I like Dwayne Johnson wasn't necessarily. I mean, the fact that he's got the same name as The Rock, obviously, I was pulling for him. But yeah, I mean, with these types of impressive plays, that's how you work your way onto a practice squad, onto a roster, is by making these impressive plays. And it's early, but maybe that's a name we should circle. Obviously, Michael Walker probably playing a starting role or close to a starting role. You guys have any thoughts on those defensive developments and them playing well in coverage thus far?
Not really. I don't put a whole lot of conviction in minicamp interceptions. I mean, they're going to happen, especially when it comes from Matt Ryan.
No, Eric, that means the offense is washed and the defense is going to be top 5 now. That is, we can write it down. Yeah.
Right. That's exactly what it means. But it's good to see. It's interesting to see, especially from Michael Walker's perspective, because it looks as if they're giving him coverage looks instead of what we thought was going to be them pretty much converting him into a 3-4 edge linebacker, which could still be the case. But the fact that he's, like I said, he's getting coverage looks is interesting to see how they go forward with that. He may be moved around pretty much the entire front 7 this year, depending on how he looks in training camp. So
yeah, I agree. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deploy him. We've wondered, I think, with Michael Walker in particular, like how they're going to use him, if they might use him more on the edge or at least as like a Sam style player in the 3-4 packages, because of his history there in college. But I think I like him a lot as a chess piece, because I'd like to get him on the field. If they're playing 2 linebackers, it's probably going to be Deion Jones and Foye Oluokun. So, it's like, well, where does Michael Walker play? So I think finding ways to get him on the field creatively will be important, because it might be that, I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he's like the 3rd or 4th best edge rusher on the team, which is kind of maybe sad. I don't know, but yeah, I'm interested to see what they do there. But I mean, Dean Pease is a guy who's, quantity over quality, right? He's rarely had these pass rushers who get double-digit sacks all up and down his roster. He's made it work with guys getting 5 to 6 sacks, but having like 5 to 6 guys getting 5 to 6 sacks instead. So I don't really care how they get the pressure as long as they do. And I think, honestly, when you know that maybe your secondary isn't great, maybe your pass rush isn't great, you might as well just be aggressive and try to frazzle the other team with your creative blitz packages, with these exotic blitzes, because you're not if you play straight up, you're going to get burned anyway. You might as well just be aggressive and try to force some mistakes, try to force some big plays. And I appreciate that style after the very conservative, very vanilla defense we've seen for the last 5 years. So, I'm looking forward to that change on defense. I don't think it's going to result in like a great unit, but if they can just create a few turnovers, if they can be an opportunistic defense that still gives up a lot of yards and points, like if the offense is good enough, that might be enough. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think their success level should be kind of it should be kind of leveled a little bit this year because of the fact that they don't really have a true lead edge rusher. I think this is going to be a defense that has, I wouldn't be surprised if the top sack guy on defense has like 8 or 9 sacks.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if that guy is Grady Jarrett, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to dictate success for this defense is what they do in takeaways. And if they're a team that can find themselves in the top 12 at worst in takeaways, I think they'll be able to win some games with that.
Right. Especially if it's like net turnover ratio too. If they can just be
Right.
like on the top half of the league in turnover ratio, even if
Right.
they don't, like if they just don't turn the ball over, if they create, an average number of turnovers, but they don't turn the ball over,
Right.
then they're going to be in the top 10 in turnover ratio. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So that would be good for sure. Yeah, I think that's all like really the notable things for minicamp. There hasn't necessarily been a ton of information. Arthur Smith has been pretty tight-lipped in terms of like seeing position battles or all that. I mean, Josh Andrews still starting at left guard. I guess Caleb McGarry and Matt Gono weren't out there today, so Jalen Mayfield was playing right tackle in McGarry's absence.
Come on, Jalen. Win the job.
But yeah, I mean, what's your concern level for the offensive line if Josh Andrews is the week 1 starter?
I'm very concerned.
I would be very concerned. And maybe Josh Andrews is like the light bulb is turned on or something. I don't know, but
I'm very.
I would be concerned.
It would be borderline. I almost rather have James Carpenter there.
Give him a call.
Like it's just nothing. I'm nothing against Josh Andrews. It's just he's a career backup journeyman for a reason.
Right. I mean, he's definitely a guy I'd rather have as, my top backup.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, if he gets in there, he's still the starter in preseason and he acquits himself well in preseason. I'm happy to eat my words. Josh Andrews, I wish you all the success in the world. If you can hold it down and you can lock it down and show that, he's not old. Like he could, I mean, it's feasible that he could continue to improve, but
No, he's not.
it would be a gargantuan leap to be like a plus starter based on what we've seen so far. But he was with the Jets for a while, so that's generally where players go to have their careers end. So anything's possible. It's kind of like the Chargers for offensive line. Like if you go play offensive line for the Chargers, you're gonna have a bad time more than likely. So maybe in Atlanta. And again, with Arthur Smith's scheme, I don't think they're going to be asking them to pass protect nearly the same level that Dirk Cutter was asking them to, where they're running all these deep routes, where they're running this long stuff, where they're not basically recognizing that the offensive line is a problem. So that could help make it seem like that's what Kyle Shanahan did. Like he didn't necessarily he knew that wasn't the best pass protecting line in the league, but he knew they could run block and that they would be good enough for play action, and that's exactly what happened. They made it work, with that group, and they played to their strengths. So if Arthur Smith can play to the offensive line's strengths, then that could help a lot in covering up some of these issues. But long term, we're still fingers crossed for Jalen Mayfield at left guard, for sure, or Drew Dahlman. But I feel like Dahlman's more of a center only prospect. But if he bulks up 10 pounds, maybe he could be a guard. I don't know, but
if Hennessy plays poorly enough, you'll see Drew Dahlman there
right.
a lot earlier than you'd want to.
Yeah, I mean, Hennessy's not necessarily locked into the starting center job. It is going to be a competition there. We haven't heard anything about that other than that Hennessy had the first crack, but we'll see how that goes. But I think
which is natural. Hennessy is he has that game experience.
Yep.
Dahlman's a rookie, but that's not something where you just pencil Hennessy in the way you pencil Jake Matthews in into the lineup. Like he still has a lot to prove to this coaching staff and to the fan base. Like Hennessy did not have a good year last year.
No. I mean, and it's like he played a handful of games. One of them was against the Chiefs D-line, which good luck to the Rook on that one. And he wasn't like a disaster, but it certainly wasn't great. And then he played center against the Bucs the next week, also a very tough matchup, and that was better. But we'll see. Hopefully he can take that second year leap. And between him and Dahlman, if we could have just a competent center between the two of them, that's fine too.
Yeah.
So
we've been talking about Julio Jones ad nauseum, but I really hope that we don't look back in the middle of the season and think, man, I wish we had Alex Mack on this team still.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it seems like I don't know if Mac wanted to leave absolutely, or if they were just like, we can't afford to pay you what you want. But, they admit there may be a point where it's like, we could have paid Alex Mack, the $4 million or whatever we paid Matt Gono, and had Alex Mack still. And if Gono is not a starter and you're paying him $4 million to be your swing tackle, that's not like terrible value, but it's not great when you have so little cap space. So we'll see how that goes. Dan the Man says, can't be any worse than Jamon Brown was. And at least if Josh Andrews is the starter and he's like mediocre, at least he's only getting paid vet min. Jamon Brown was getting like $6 million a year to be terrible. So
shout out to Thomas Dimitrov again.
Big shout out to Thomas
stellar offensive line signings. Brown, Carpenter, Brandon Fusco, just superb job by him. It's no wonder we have the cap space we do at this point.
Yep, no wonder. So, all right, guys, before we wrap up, do want to remind you folks to check out the Patreon page and that patron Q&A coming on Friday. If you'd like to take part and you're not already a patron, it's real easy. Just head to patreon.com/Falcoholic Live. We've got several tier levels from very inexpensive to like, oh, I can't believe you're willing to give us this money. So, it's totally up to you which one you pick. They all get you access to everything. We're just happy to have your support. We do appreciate all of our patrons that are already on there, all of our donators, and everyone who just hangs out and chats with us. We just really appreciate you guys. So thank you so much. And as always, please like and subscribe. Those metrics really do help us out. You guys are helping us climb up the YouTube ranks. We appreciate all of your support in that arena as well. All right, guys. Any final takes? Eric, I'll go to you first. Final takes tonight. Anything else you're plugging? Anything else like that? He is, by the way, @_Eric_Robinson on Twitter.
Not really. The only thing I got going on right now, well, it's a couple of things I'm working on, but I did do a career retrospective of Julio Jones that was released earlier this week. So go ahead and give that a look. I'm working now on my in-game matchups to keep an eye on for week 2 against the Bucks. So that should be out probably before the weekend. Well, I should probably submit it before the weekend. But outside of that, man, just check us out at thefalcoholic.com. Once again, we have everything. And yeah, there's probably not a better Falcons platform than the Falcoholic. I can't think of one.
I would say definitely not. Definitely not. don't want to toot our own horn here, but
yeah, right.
We could do it a little bit.
Brag.
This is the official program of the Falcoholic, so
we're just pretty damn good at what we do.
Right. We're just the best. Look, I'm just the best there is. That's all there is to it. So
that's
yeah. Also with us tonight, Evan Birchfield. He's at Evan Birchfield on Twitter. Evan, anything you're working on? Anything else you want to add tonight?
Just a quick piggyback off of Eric. We do have a person on our podcast or our show who is literally sponsored by Twizzlers. You're not getting that anywhere else.
You don't get that anywhere else. Nope. So
you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter at M Birchfield, at thefalcoholic.com, the Instagram page, _Falcoholic. I have a fantasy football article coming out soon. It's 32 teams, 32 sleepers. I do that every year. I've been doing it the last couple of years, so that's kind of fun. I have our round table. We shared our favorite moments, but like the rest of the staff kind of, it's a round table for their favorite Julio moments. So if you're not tired of Julio content, that'll be on there. And I think that's it for now. But yeah, just go to thefalcoholic.com.
Yep. Very cool. Definitely check that out. Reminds me that I need to contribute to that as well. So also the Twizzler man of the evening, he is Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way. Adnan, anything other than Twizzlers or including Twizzlers that you'd like to plug tonight?
Yeah, go Twizzlers. No, I just want to give a shout out to you guys, to the viewers. We're in June right now. This is the deadest of dead periods. Minicamp just started. And, we were at over 100 people watching.
We got to 120.
Yeah. So, I mean, big shout out to you guys. I remember, back in the day when, we could only dream of having that many, like during, in the middle of the season. So
a post game, maybe we did 100.
Not only that, but the shows are getting huge views on YouTube afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the shows are getting, 2K views. So we appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and whether you're watching with us live or you're watching afterwards, we big shout out to you guys. You guys are the reason why we're here doing this. I think this is the first off season where we've done this like weekly, every
Yeah.
Wednesday instead of every other Wednesday, and that's just a testament to the viewership that we've gotten and to the popularity. And definitely, if it wasn't for you guys, we'd just be four guys just sitting around, talking
We're
into
still
the
that,
void.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Can I add too that it's a lot easier to get people to come on when we have a ton of views than if we had like 10.
Yeah.
So that's also a credit to the people. The more people that watch, the easier it's going to be to get a lot of these people on.
Yep. And I know Adnan's been working hard to get the guests. We appreciate all that effort as well. So
Evan has been working hard to get the guests. I have done nothing.
No, I'm just selling the product, which is Eric, Adnan, and Kevin.
Evan, don't put yourself down. Okay, you contribute.
I mean, just like to hang out, to be honest.
Evan
I'm like the people watching.
Here. Yeah. No,
like I don't need to talk. I'm just happy to hang out.
Evan pulls the strings, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, Evan's actually the mastermind. Like Dave is just a puppet. Like it's actually Evan above him controlling everything from the top on down.
Yeah, Dave is more of the warden, and Evan he's the guy behind the scenes. He's the one putting it all together, man. He's the engine. We wouldn't have guests if it wasn't for Evan, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, or we'd have probably the same guests, but
the same guest. On this week, Falcoholic writer. Oh yeah, we're just recycling. That's all.
Evan's just willing to like cold call people, and that's something I've never been really good at.
I just put it out there. I'm like, hey, you want to come on? We got
the thing is, Evan is just so like trustworthy too. It's like, and I highly recommend reading Evan's articles where he like interviews former players and like staff on the Falcons, because they'll pour their heart and soul into it. They'll tell Evan their entire life story.
You can't tell Evan no.
Because it's
Evan. Yeah, guys, we got we have some cool guests coming up. Keenan Forney is going to join us shortly. He's in Hawaii.
Our guy, Keenan.
For you guys wondering where Keenan has been, he's been in Hawaii for a while. So I've been texting every once in a while to check up on his Hawaii vacation.
I did see that.
Yeah, so he is
also go ahead.
If
the viewers like have recommendations, like don't say Matt Ryan. Like I'm not at that level, but like if there's like some people you'd like for me to try, Matt Ryan. If I got Matt Ryan on here, I mean,
I don't know, man.
Change the name. I'm just kidding.
You got a front. You got Arthur Blank's right hand man. Like, come on, like
he did get Arthur Blank's right hand man.
You damn near had.
He
Arthur
likes
Blank
us though. That's not a me thing. He likes the show. He was on here having. He wasn't supposed to stay as long as he did, and he wanted to because he liked hanging out with us.
Yeah, we'll have to get him back on.
So that's a credit to y'all.
Yeah, I know people.
Big game, Brett.
Yeah, I know people are asking. Yeah, I mean, we'll have Tori back on for sure. Keenan Forney is going to be coming back on soon, and we're also going to have new Falcons ESPN beat writer Michael Rothstein on. And
he's doing a great job.
Future.
He's doing a fantastic job on the beat.
Again, I don't know other Falcons platform that is putting that together. Like I'm sorry. There's nowhere else. You can't go anywhere else and get that type of coverage.
Dan the man says Paul Warlow.
My God,
I mean,
Paul.
that'd be possible, probably.
I'm into it. I know. Evan has been in contact with former players about coming on. So, we may have.
We were waiting for like the dead period, but there seems to not really be a dead period.
Right, because But
thanks, Julio.
Yeah, thanks, Julio. But
it's never a dead period.
No.
And like I said earlier, Adnan is a walking Twizzlers billboard. So Twizzlers just needs to take that next step and stamp the show. Go ahead and sponsor us. Your man is already putting in work.
He's literally been on ESPN. I'll get on Instagram and see, like, I'll just be scrolling and I'll see Adnan at a Hawks game on ESPN. Like, I've seen it like 4 times.
ESPN. Nobody knows that it's actually me. I just have that generic face.
No, I get viewers and readers who message me and say, like they'll send me the picture and be like, "Look, Adnan's on here. Is that Adnan?"
You know what I think you should do, Ed? I think you should go to Hawks games with your Twizzlers gear on. That way, you get put on camera again. I'm like, come on, Twizzlers.
That's another level. I'm gonna need Twizzlers to start sending like full checks instead of just
we're gonna need the official Twizzlers endorsement before we can start doing that. But like Twizzlers, I'll set up a crawl. I'll put up like the Falcoholic Live presented by Twizzlers. Like you say I won't, like I will do that. So I'm not above that.
And they're red. Like it helps.
And they're red.
That
It's
they have
perfect.
a team color.
Right.
Exactly. It would fit right in with the motif. So
I'll try to eat Twizzlers.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like Twizzlers are good. I would eat a lot more of them if we were endorsed by Twizzlers. So
they are delicious.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need you to work. I'm gonna need you to work on that. That was a rookie read there, Derek. I'm gonna need you to pump that up, okay?
I don't know if the Hawks games things will happen because it's
there's probably some rules.
It's section rules. It's section rules that it has to be just full on Hawks gear. But on the show definitely. I'm already putting in the work on the show.
Right. If you ever get interviewed later at the Hawks game, you can be like, "Oh yeah, shout out to Twizzlers," so we can work that. Yeah.
Come on, Twizzlers. Give us some love,
Yeah.
But to get back to it though, it is the dead period. But check out, I've been doing a Falcoholic bracket of the greatest Falcons moments. We've moved into the second round on that.
Mm-hmm.
Check that out. It's separate articles, different regions, the whole 9 yards, 64 plays, full March Madness stuff, head to head. And go on there, vote for your favorite plays, because we're doing it completely for you, for your entertainment, to make some discussion now, to discuss something other than just Julio Jones. And we'll be moving into the Sweet 16 on that. So I'm really excited to see who wins. There's been some really good plays in there, some really nice upsets. So it's something that's entertaining me as much as it is everyone else.
Exactly. Yes. So thank you to everyone who's contributed. I remember when we, this is the dead period, so there's no better time to, wax poetic. This is basically, we're transitioning to Falcoholic Live After Dark already, but, we just really appreciate everyone. And I appreciate all these guys for, Eric and I went on the air and did this show with obviously contributions from Adnan from time to time. I think Adnan joined in maybe like a few months after we officially got started in terms of coming on like every week, but there's a lot of weeks where it was like Eric and I and like 20 people tops. And shout out to those 20 people who kept coming back every week, because that was the foundation that,
that was tough.
Helped. But it's like 20 people is 20 people, man. I mean, the U20, and I know who you guys are, like Solaire and Vlad, and a lot of you guys like followed us from Facebook, and
it was still 20 when I first started coming on, because you guys were doing it before I joined the Falcoholic.
Yeah.
And when I first came on to the Falcoholic, the live show immediately piqued my interest as something I wanted to start doing and start being a part of. And I remember it was Facebook Live, and it was around 20 people, even back when so it was even less before I came on.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're off Facebook Live, because that platform sucked for many reasons. But, YouTube has embraced us. The platform's just higher quality. The chat's better. The quality
Plus,
of the
it's
show
probably
is better.
easier to rewatch stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Facebook Live sucked. Yeah.
I've never watched gone on Facebook to watch videos,
Yeah,
so I imagine it's easier on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. Like I sometimes go and watch back the show and stuff, and YouTube does a fantastic job of just making it as easy as possible. And I enjoy going back through past shows and reading through some of the comments,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and just seeing our progression through the years of just how we've matured, and seeing our former takes from back in the day.
Yes, there's some legendary takes, especially those older draft parties. Those ones were excellent. I still like to go back and watch some of those. It's a good time. But yeah, guys, we won't keep you anymore. Shout out to the 70 people that have stayed on for the last 15 minutes of us just talking about random stuff. But thank you guys. Like I said, Friday, next patron Q&A session. Hit that up. If you're not already a patron, check it out. Consider it. We do appreciate that support. And if you're not wanting to be a patron, you just want to hang out, we're cool with that too. The patron Q&A will be up to watch within like an hour or so of us finishing that up. So 4 o'clock on Friday for everyone interested in that. Check that out. But again, we really appreciate you guys. I appreciate all of the co-hosts, everyone for helping out. Couldn't be here without you guys. It's a joint venture. It's never just been about me or any one person. And I think that's what makes the show so good, is that we do have so many different perspectives, different personalities on here that all work well together. So guys, I will announce now that we will not have a show next week because it's my wife's birthday. And I think that would be rude to have a show on her birthday. So I'm not going to do it. So we'll be taking next week off. We'll be back the week after that. We will be, doing weekly as a general rule, but occasionally we may take weeks off for various things. But yeah, so no show next week, but we will have the thing on Friday, and then we'll have the show the week after that. And obviously, if any like huge news happens, we'll do something impromptu. But
also go Hawks.
Yes.
Let's make the conference finals. Let's beat the 76ers at home in these next 2 games.
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's put on for Atlanta. Atlanta's watching. I can't wait to be in the arena for these next 2 games, cheering the team on. So, go shout out to Travis Schlenk and everyone in the Hawks front office who've done a great job creating that team. I know it's the Falcons show, but go Hawks. Definitely.
Yeah, go Hawks, man. Go Hawks. I don't watch a lot of basketball. It's been fun watching them, honestly. So, I don't know a ton about the details, but it's entertaining. I'll give it that for sure. So maybe someday I'll be caught up, but I'll leave the basketball to Adnan and everybody else.
It's the most fun team in the NBA right now.
They do seem very fun. So, all right, guys, have a great night. We'll see you in a couple weeks or on Friday for taking part in the Q&A. Until next time, have a great night. Enjoy the off season, and we'll be right back at you before you know it. Have a